Welcome to a Monday edition of the Football Show. Wait a second. A Football Show here on the 440 Sports Network. He is Zach Lyons. I am Braden Gall. We got a lot of stuff to do today on the show. Very exciting things happening with Zach and with 440 Sports. We've got some announcements coming up as well. We've got lots of stuff to get to as it pertains to the Titans offensive coordinator search. We know 3, if not 4 names already. Lots of stuff going on there, so we'll break down all those possible names.
This place is packed. We're live at the pharmacy.
Dude, this place is – there's like – you can't see it back there because we have the flap down in case the rain comes, because that's supposed to come through, you know, whenever, sometime here soon during the show. Always perfect timing.
I walked in because of the way we walk into our thing, there's usually nobody over here. There's full tables all the way here. Come up here, and in our studio space are 2 Huskies – and their owner just sitting there, and I'm thinking, well, heck, if this place is packed.
It is. Well, day off, of course. No school, no metro schools, and if you need a place to come, the pharmacy is your place to do it. Of course, you got great burgers. You got 2 Das Boots here. I've got some smokestack smoked dark lager out of Memphis. It's really, really smoky and delicious if you like dark beer on a cold afternoon. But again, this place is packed, so come on in. Pharmacy, great place to get a burger. Great place, of course. Memphis. That's right.
It is.
Taste
of Memphis.
There you go. Lots of stuff to do on the show today. Titans offensive coordinator, but also we're going to have a long conversation about quarterbacks because that's the only position that really matters in the NFL. And there's so many teams that are looking for quarterbacks. There are so many quarterbacks who could be available. So we're going to systematically go through every possible name that the Titans could conceivably be interested in, and we'll break down what that cost will be. Does that work for the offensive system, and what does that do for the future of the franchise as it pertains to making an offensive coordinator decision, a philosophical decision, where they all want to go? So we'll have a big announcement, by the way, coming up at the end of the show. So at the very end of the show, I'm going to make you wait all the way to the end of the show, but we got a big announcement. 440 Sports.
Reel you in. It's called a tease. We call that in the biz. The tease. 440
Sports very proud to make a big announcement coming up at the very end of the show. So a lot of stuff to do today. First of all, shout out to Daniel here at the pharmacy for having his child over the weekend, his baby girl. Welcome to the world. Welcome to the pharmacy team. Congratulations to Daniel. Mrs. and Mom is doing fine. Baby's doing great. Your life is never going to be the same. I hope you enjoyed yourself before your new baby arrived, but everybody's safe. Congratulations, Daniel, man, on becoming a father. Really cool moment there. And of course, congratulations on you having a new baby as well. Zach has a brand new baby, not a human, but a place where you can consume all the takes. Zach,
Stacking the Inbox. It's the first Tennessee Titans newsletter of its kind. I'm always ahead of the curve. If you're not ahead, you're always behind, right? And yeah, sure, you're probably rolling your eyes. Oh, no, not another subscription-based, article thing. Well, look, I'm like 3,000 times cheaper than everybody else on the market.
That's science.
And then on top of that, here's the thing. I'm not beholden to any advertisers. I'm actually beholden to you, the reader. So the content that you're going to get is curated by me. I have over 100 plus topics already lined up for the off season.
I totally believe that, by the way.
Yeah, it's totally true. I mean, no, that's not even an exaggeration. And I got them all Post-it notes, color coded on calendars, all up in a room. Now I have my office downstairs where I do the podcast and most of my writing. Now I have another secondary bonus room.
Now, you have been one to make fun of John Robinson for being in the Stone Ages, maybe not forward-thinking enough.
Yeah.
Innovation was a big word Amy Adams-Strunk is using for the Titans' future GM, and we're still on the Post-it note thing.
What I like about the Post-it notes
thing, analytics?
The Post-it notes thing is filled with analytic articles, but it's color-coded for the fact that, okay, I'm taking this one down, what's left? Or then I can move stuff around a lot easier because I'm a very spatial awareness kind of guy. Sure, I do a lot of Excel spreadsheets and all that kind of stuff. But this has helped out the creative process.
Big Google Doc guy? Yeah, I love a good Google Doc.
But see, I do, for me, it's like it helps with the creative process because then I'm going through it, I'm reading through certain things, and then those certain things spark something. When you put it in a Google Doc, kind of gets lost in this stuff.
That's true.
So I'm going to the Senior Bowl, credentialed for the Senior Bowl. I'll be down there all week. So you'll get not only articles, we'll be doing a football show down there, or at least I will, and be doing football and other F words down there. And we'll have some live content that will be exclusively for streaming stacking the inbox. So essentially, what you're getting is stuff that you really care about. It's going to educate you, entertain you like it always has. And look, football and other F words, often imitated, never duplicated. Okay? These Titans fan podcasts are a dime a dozen. I saw another one show up the other day. And here's on the flip side of that. my writing style, what the stuff you get in there, often imitated, never duplicated.
That's for sure. There's no question. As a paid subscriber, I can admit
no free subscriptions here.
No free subscriptions. Listen, for $48, I got the whole year. I gave him.
Yeah, it's $4.
$48. I got a whole year's worth of Zach's content because hanging out with you 2 hours a week.
Yeah,
not enough.
Not enough.
Not enough.
Listen, $48 or $4 a month or $48 a year. It is 14 cents to 25 cents, depending on how much I write, because I know there is going to be vacations in there and all, stuff like that. But when I go on vacation, I'm going to have articles in the get-go ready for it.
In the queue.
Yeah, in the queue. And then the other thing is there is an option for you to join something called Stacking the Inbox Club. It's just something Substack has in there. So I've decided to say that any amount over $60 that is donated to or that is paid here, even if it's $61, that $1 is going into a savings account and getting donated to a charity.
Oh, very good. Very cool, man. It could be like stacking the owner's inbox.
Yeah,
that's what it could be. Stacking the owner's inbox, making sure Amy gets all the news she needs. Stacking the inbox, of course, on Substack. You can also check it out on his Twitter account as well, @FWordsPod.
Nothing else changes, by the way, just all my written content.
And make sure you got the 440 Sports Twitter account turned on today. Again, coming up at the end of the show, big announcement for you guys. But we're going to spend a lot of time today on quarterbacks and coordinators. Before we do, we mentioned the pharmacy, these wonderful and amazing folks here. Stacked, by the way, just packed with tables filled with people eating wonderful and amazing
the people
burgers.
are out here in the rain and it's kind of gloomy. You can only imagine that inside is just like bustling.
My 6-year-old loves vibes. She's all about vibey night. She doesn't like down lighting. She wants lamps and she wants to watch a movie with some vibe. In there, in the pharmacy, that's where your vibes are. That's where you get them on a Monday. You come by, have a burger. Of course, open every single day of the week. They got an office or location down in 5th and Broad, down in downtown Nashville as well. And then, of course, the Kingston Group, buildkg.com, locally owned, Nashville's locally owned custom home and remodeling firm. They're a firm, and that means they're special somehow. And it's because they're nose to tail. They plan the entire process. So don't make any big decisions about your home or renovation or a purchase or sale without talking to the Kingston Group first. I promise you, they will help you make the big financial decisions about your home a lot easier and simpler and smoother, unlike the Titans' decision to hire offensive coordinator, which will be very difficult, potentially, if they're going to go outside of the realm of sort of what we know about this Titans organization under Mike Vrabel. So first, before we get to the names, I got 2 questions for you.
Okay.
First, do the names tell you anything about the philosophical approach for the Tennessee Titans? And number 2, did you learn anything about what you saw over the weekend in the NFL? Because, I know we came back from the final week of the regular season saying, I don't know, maybe Tom Brady still got it. I still believe in Tom Brady. Went down the field. Did anything you saw this weekend in the playoffs change your mind about where the Titans should go? And is there anything we should know about the names we've seen so far in terms of philosophical approach?
I think in terms of the OCs that have been listed, which are Charles London, who's the current quarterback coach for the Atlanta Falcons, Eric Bieniemy, who's the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, and Matt Nagy, who is the quarterback coach for the Kansas City Chiefs and former head coach of the Chicago Bears. None of those really, I think, nothing I saw in the playoffs technically plays into that. And what I saw in the playoffs plays into what I wrote about at Stacking an Inbox for the first paid article this morning. How can the how can the next GM be a little bit different, right? And how can he be better? And I said they need to get faster, taller, and more durable, essentially, and healthier. Which healthier you can't really bank on, right? Except for you need to be able to be a little bit more strict with your...
Don't be a blister.
Be a little bit more strict with less lenient on injury histories. Be a little bit more strict on those injury histories. But what you saw this weekend were taller, faster players than anything that the Tennessee Titans have had on their team besides A.J. Brown, peak Derrick Henry, and maybe Chigakonkwo and Treylon Burks. And that's the main difference. You look at the cornerbacks that played this weekend and they're playing tonight, they're almost all over 6 feet. The Titans don't have anybody over 6 feet. They're all 5'11". And I know that doesn't sound like a big difference, but it is a big difference when you're going up against 6'1" to 6'4" wide receivers all weekend.
Who are only going to continue to get bigger and faster and stronger and everything.
I mean, look at the all-pro corners. We're 6'3" and 6'4". Patrick Surtain, 6'3", and 6'2" and 6'3".
Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, and Sauce Gardner's a tall one. Just got to. You got to get bigger and faster, and that's exactly what the Tennessee Titans want. Now, as far as offensive schemes and stuff like that, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, one of the things I found so weird about this weekend was the quarterbacks. And maybe I should save this for the quarterback discussion, because I saw a lot of random-ass quarterbacks winning games in the second half in situations they should not have been. So maybe there's a discussion about devaluing the raw pure ability of that and being more trusted in the system. I don't know. Maybe that's just a random occurrence this weekend.
Well, I mean, here's someone. Joe Lombardi is a good example of an offensive coordinator and head coach combo that doesn't work, that is royally screwed up and not played into their strengths. I think we can all agree on that. Yeah, I think that Joe Lombardi is going to get – if Brandon Staley's keeping his job, Joe Lombardi's out the door.
Yes.
Okay? So there's another offensive coordinator thing opening up. I think what you saw, though, is that teams had success on the ground. I thought that Minnesota looked good on the ground. Now, you flip that around, and you can have as good a bright young mind as you can in Kevin O'Connell, and Kirk Cousins still going to pull Josh Dobbs and check down. That doesn't get nobody any good, right? Now, and if Kirk Cousins decides, hey, I'm going to quit targeting Justin Jefferson, who could probably win a one-on-one matchup with Adoree Jackson, that's all. You can't change that. So in my mind, what you saw was a bunch of successful offensive coordinators put their team in the best position to win. And that's what this team desperately needs.
Yeah, I agree. The fact that Skylar Thompson, Brock Purdy, Geno Smith, we're all leading in the second half on top of
let's slow down the Skylar Thompson, though.
Oh, no, it was nothing to do with him. He was terrible. I'm just saying I felt myself looking at first of all, I thought the NFC was like, I looked at all the quarterbacks in the AFC, and now you've got Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Trevor Lawrence, all grade A pedigree, like Angus prime rib beef here. And then the other side, you've got Brock Purdy, Jalen Hurts, who's had a great year, but a guy that Eagles fans kind of weren't sure about. You got Daniel Jones, who Giants didn't pick up the fifth-year option. And then you had Geno Smith and Skylar Thompson leading in the second half. So I just couldn't help myself but saying Ryan Tannehill is good enough to get this team a lead in the playoffs. Like, he's got to be perfect, but I felt
the offensive coordinator was never good enough.
Yes,
and ultimately that's what it is. And here's the thing, because I talk about it with a few people. Derrick Henry is a crutch. This offensive coordinator needs to be able to not have to rely on Derrick Henry.
Yes.
Now, part of that is the GM doing their job and getting him pieces that they need. But Derrick Henry, when you're looking at Eric Bieniemy, when you're talking about Matt Nagy, that's, to me, says they're not as tied to Derrick Henry as you think, because he's a running back that can do things in that system. And really, you need to focus less on the Chiefs under Patrick Mahomes and focus more on Mike Kafka, who's over at the Giants, or go put on the tape from 2017 back to 2013 Andy Reid, where he has Kareem Hunt, where he is running the ball more, where they're still putting up points. Maybe not the yardage is there, but they're still putting up points, even with Alex Smith and stuff like that. That's what you need to be looking at when you're thinking about Matt Nagy and Eric Bieniemy, their time there. Specifically Matt Nagy, who led Alex Smith to a career year in 2017 as the offensive coordinator, who did share in play calling duty. And that's the other thing. Eric Bieniemy has play calling experience. Quit saying that he doesn't. Andy Reid specifically says in videos, he's on the record.
Yeah.
Eric Bieniemy calls some plays. Now listen, here's the thing about this, just real quick.
Yeah.
Eric Bieniemy probably calls the plays. Andy Reid is in the headset, and Andy Reid has veto power between Eric Bieniemy and Patrick Mahomes. But Eric Bieniemy is also taking part in play design, installed, training up Patrick Mahomes, because I'll see a lot of people say, well, Andy Reid does all that. Dude, Andy Reid can only do so many things as a person. like
there's only so many hours in the day.
There's only so many hours in the day, so he has to have players, or he has to have staff in place that he trusts to do stuff when he can't be in the room.
Well, you've got essentially what amounts to 3 head football coaches running the offense, right? If Eric Bieniemy's been listed as a potential candidate to be a head coach all across the NFL for I don't know how many years now. Matt Nagy was one, and of course Andy Reid. So you've got 3 guys that have head coach ability, let's say, and they're all sort of working together to run arguably the most unstoppable offense of our generation. And Andy Reid's success goes back 15, 18 years with the Eagles even.
Oh, Nick Foles Eagles would be a good thing for you to go watch if you're looking for maybe attributes that are being carried over. Yeah. You can't. If you're expecting the Patrick Mahomes-like offense and a Patrick Mahomes-like renaissance of the passing game, you don't have Patrick Mahomes.
Well,
there's also a
it helps to have that guy.
There's also an improvisation to what Patrick Mahomes does on the field as well.
Yes.
So that you don't have that element. You cannot look at the Patrick Mahomes Chiefs and say, "Oh, that's what we're getting," because I don't think realistically that's what you're getting.
So I think 2 important things. Number one, when I saw the list of names, including the 2 Chiefs guys, it strikes me as They're willing to be more creative and more open philosophically to what the future of the offense could look like. And to your point, tied less to Derrick Henry. Now, when's the last true feature running back that either Andy Reid and the Chiefs had or even Nagy with the Bears? Now, David Montgomery had 2 seasons where he was pseudo-featured over 200 carries. But
they still use Tariq Cohen just as much.
Nothing like Derrick Henry. Like, we're talking 1,000 yards rushing, 800 yards rushing, nothing like Derrick.
Yeah. It would be the closest would be not Arian Foster. Sorry, I'm thinking of Charles London, the other offensive coordinator, Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt had 13 to 1,500 rushing yards.
That's true.
Not including what he did in the receiving game. And I think that's the key is that, Derrick Henry can receive, and he has improved that aspect of him. But you don't have the speed anymore. There is now maybe a year removed from the injury. Maybe he gets the speed back, but that's such a hard thing to get back once you lost it.
Yeah, and you guys are chiming in. Matt Forte, Daniel says Matt Forte. Kenneth says Jamal Charles.
Matt Forte wasn't around Matt Nagy or any of these guys.
Jamal Charles' last 100-yard rushing year was 2014.
Yeah, that was I believe still Andy Reid in 2014, if I'm not mistaken.
It was Andy Reid, but it was not, again, a running back with 206 carries for 1,033 yards is not Derrick Henry territory. Yeah. That is lead back. It's not feature back. If we're going to get
but to also be honest, how many receiving yards did he get, and how many touches did he get that way compared to Derrick Henry?
So I'm sure it's only 21.
He got injured that year. Didn't
40 catches that year. The year before, he had 1,300 yards from scrimmage. This was 2013. 1,300 yards from scrimmage, 12 touchdowns rushing, 70 receptions, over 100 targets. Almost 700 yards.
But again, how old was Jamal Charles?
27 years old.
Okay, so Jamal Charles is 27 years old. How old is going to be Derrick Henry?
29.
And who is by far the faster player?
Jamal Charles.
There you go.
Again, this was also 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Andy Reid's been the coach for 10 years.
Yeah.
And
which is wild.
I think that proves the point, if anything.
Yeah.
I have to double check when Matt Forte left the Bears in terms of crossover.
Well, the Jordan Howard was Matt Nagy's first year. He was the first rusher with Jordan Howard.
Again, Matt Forte's final year that was 2014. I think the point is, really excited if I'm a Titans fan about broadening the philosophical approach offensively. That's fun because there are so many, as we've talked about ad nauseum, and we're going to talk about this with the quarterbacks, there's so many different directions this franchise could go right now.
It's at a crossroads.
And it's at a major, I don't know who said that. Did somebody say that?
Someone said that.
And the fact that a lot of these names probably don't feature a 30-year-old running back getting 380 touches. I think that it doesn't mean we don't love Derrick Henry.
And expensive.
Right.
An expensive.
A depreciating asset.
Yes.
Even if he's still good, 1,500 yards, still great.
It's still great. But let's be honest here, that's all volume, right? Like that's you're talking about sub 4.0 yards per carry. That's all volume. And that's because they had no one else to go to. Traylon Burks wasn't reliable enough. The offensive coordinator couldn't design plays good enough. They limited chick snaps. The offensive line was terrible. The next step is to take all that and move on past Derrick Henry. It is time, and I've said this for years. If they hire like Charles London or hire Tim Kelly, I think Derrick Henry's chances at staying and being featured are pretty good.
Go up, yeah.
However, if you're talking about Eric Bieniemy or Matt Nagy, I think that you're probably seeing the end of days. And then maybe they just redo his contract and keep him here and then start lessening his carries.
Well, you know what it feels like, honestly? It feels like in about 4 years from now, there's going to be that one-day contract that Derrick Henry signs to come back and retire.
Well, it's just like Eddie George, right? He went Eddie George,
Smith, all these guys do it. And again, which is great. I still think there's something there in 2023 for Derrick Henry here. Is he willing to be more of a lead back instead of a feature back, which I think is a subtle difference there. Which direction do you, forgetting the names, because I think Eric Bieniemy, would be a pretty good hire. I think Matt Nagy, not a great head coach.
Let me ask you a question. The players, he's not well liked. Okay, Eric Bieniemy is not well liked among, I guess, maybe some coworkers and some players, right? So that is the thing, is from rumors inside the buildings that he's not well liked. Does that matter to you?
I mean, if you're all
because at the end of the day, isn't Andy Reid's opinion matter more than everybody else's opinion on the quality of coach that Eric Bieniemy is?
So this is what I love about the NFL. It simplifies these kinds of things for me because I think in college sports or even in other sports where you're playing 100 games or 160 games or 82 games, they're probably, because you're spending so much time together on the road. Like hockey teams go on the road and live together, like every minute of the day. I think there maybe needs to be more camaraderie for that success to find itself. But the NFL is so merit-driven that if I can make you money because you are a better player because of what I'm telling you to do, I don't really feel like it matters if we get along in the NFL as much. I think if Treylon Burks can maximize his financial worth, and I'm not even talking about winning, I'm talking about just what's best for Treylon Burks, is to listen to Eric Bieniemy and do what Eric Bieniemy tells him to do. The NFL generally, that's the only thing that matters. Now, can you win a Super Bowl if you all get along better? Maybe there's some camaraderie there that helps you win.
I just find that people overvalue this likability, and I think that's a generational or this society thing that you have. Being liked equals success. Where I don't really think that Vrabel's probably not for every player, not for every coach, and he's still successful, right?
To me, it's called being an adult in the workplace.
Right.
It's impossible for you to like everyone you work with in every office, but you still have to get your shit done, and they have to get their shit done. And if you can help each other do it, why not help each other do it? You don't have to go to the bar every day and be best friends. I don't know. I kind of agree with you. It's a little overplayed. My question is going to be, though, philosophically, do you want to see them at the crossroads here? Do we want to see more Bieniemy, Nagy, Andy Reid evolution of the offense hires, or do you like stability, consistency, maybe fits in more with Vrabel? Which direction do you prefer?
I think you need to see some evolution, some change. I just think you need to, and I think that needs to come into play also with your GM hire. If you're hiring Ryan Cowden, Monty Ossenfort, then you're just stuck with stability, right? Isn't that what you're kind of saying to your fan base? Just more of the same. Yeah. And then you would just hire Tim Kelly or maybe hire Charles London, which, look, Charles London could end up being the next Arthur Smith. I mean, the Rams wanted him as offensive coordinator last year. The Dolphins wanted him as offensive coordinator last year, at least to interview. That's good. That's good company to keep, right?
Yeah.
And now he's been with Arthur Smith, so maybe you get Arthur Smith 2.0. But are you really at a point where if you're going to take Charles London and pair him with Monty Ossenfort and Ryan Cowden, you're going to it doesn't feel like anything's changed, and it feels like you're probably going to get more Todd Downing.
Well, and it certainly doesn't feel right to go with Monty Ossenfort or Ryan Cowden in the building and then go like way across the board with somebody different evolution-wise, Cliff Kingsbury, for example, schematic-wise, and try to pair the old model of player evaluation and acquisition to the new model of offensive scheme, even though Mike Vrabel actually might sit in the middle of that philosophically, it doesn't feel like there's as much cohesion or alignment, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I want to see enough just changing names that I feel good. Like, I don't feel like there's a big difference between John Robinson, Monty Ossenfort, and Ryan Cowden. And I don't think there's a big difference between Todd Downing, Tim Kelly, and Charles London. So
I don't disagree with that.
Maybe I don't need a total philosophical shift. You know, I do want more play action passing. I do want more passing in general. I do want faster, taller playmakers. I want all of this, but it's also you got to have the people in place. So I think you have to. If I want that, and I think that's what's best for this team going forward, then yes, I have to see the philosophical shift.
So animosity is a bad ingredient with adversity, Jason says. And I do agree. I think that I agree in general. That's for sure. You can always maximize your success and productivity when especially in facing adversity, when there's sort of like camaraderie or the opposite of animosity, when everybody gets along. I do think it affects 18 to 22-year-olds more. I think college football, it's a greater influence on human beings. I think it's not like, to me, this is Robert Woods. Like, Robert Woods, you may not love everything he does, but that guy's a consummate professional and is going to come in and do his job whether he likes you or not. Like, he's just going to do his job. And I think at some point the NFL is the most, I don't want to say like animosity proof of any sport, because dysfunction.
I mean, you can't have Adam Gase and I don't think Eric Bieniemy is Adam Gase. Like, I guess that's where I'm at. And personality-wise, I'd be very surprised. I want to touch on something that I'm seeing pop up by A&E. Why do fans and media keep saying the GM is hiring the OC, not Vrabel? And then I think it's Amy. I think is that who that is. I have seen it that Vrabel was forced to fire Downing, and the GM would choose the OC. Never heard of a head coach that does not have control of his staff. If that was the case, you wouldn't have interview requests going in. You would not have heard of any interview requests happening. In fact, the interview requests, unless it's Ryan Cowden and Monty Ossenfort, but in fact, Josina Anderson reported that the requests for Eric Bieniemy and Matt Nagy have been in for over a week, which means that they immediately fired Todd Downing because a week from yesterday is Sunday. And the game was Saturday.
Todd Downing was still employed.
Todd Downing was still employed. So they're obviously moving on. Someone is moving on behind the scenes, and you would have to think that person is Vrabel, or at least a combination of Amy Adams-Strunk and Vrabel. And on the because collaboration, big word. Yeah. And on the flip side of that, I would also say that I've heard speculation that it's possible that they could be doing that, but when you have new information, new evidence presents itself, you need to adjust the way you're thinking.
I think there's a couple assumptions we can make about this, which is that nothing is going to be decided without Mike Vrabel being involved in a conversation. Maybe not the conversation, but a conversation. So I think Vrabel's involved in everything. That's pretty, I don't know about you, but I think that's pretty clear that Amy Adams-Strunk and Mike Vrabel, the GM's not even going to report, like Mike Vrabel's not going to report to the GM. He's reporting directly to Amy Adams-Strunk. So I think there's a conversation taking place. It also doesn't make sense to hire a GM, hire an OC separate. Like it doesn't make sense for it to not all be kind of decided together. And I think you said this last week on the show from an orders and operations standpoint. When the GM interviews, he's going to lay out the plan. And the plan, and we're about to get to this with the quarterbacks, if a GM sits down across from maybe Adams-Strunk, he could say, look, I do not want to bring back Ryan Tannehill. I don't think he's the best way forward. Here's my plan. Or he could sit down and say, I think Ryan Tannehill is our best way forward. Here's the plan. From that conversation, Mike Vrabel then is involved in collaboration, and the offensive coordinator then is affected by that plan, right? Like it all works together. So I think you have to have everybody kind of on the same page. I do think the first thing that now, unless Vrabel has complete control, which I think we'd probably be okay with, I think you're probably going to see a GM before an OC.
Yeah, I mean, at this stage, first off, the Chiefs weren't in the wild card round, so they technically, those staffers can't really interview until January 30th, if I'm interpreting the convoluted rules correctly.
It's like in between the Super Bowl, right? They get a week or whatever.
For unless they lose, then it's all bets are off. Secondly, that they're way further into the GM process than an OC, so I think it's just going to be more of happenstance at this point. Yeah. And I think PK alludes to this into an article that he wrote this morning as well, talking about the phase and the interview process or whatever. And I think that this first round of interviews, everybody's been making a big deal that there's no football people in the room with these interviews, which I don't think there was football people when John Robinson was in there, but maybe I could be wrong. Secondly, I think that they're asking GMs, let's be candid here, what do you think of Mike Vrabel? And it's a lot easier to answer that question when the person, the subject of that question is not in there. So I think that is I think in round two, and this is specific phase two, is specifically what Vrabel said, that he will be in there on those interviews then.
All right. So because this all eventually ties back to the quarterback. And I cannot tell you, by the way, we are here live at the pharmacy in East Nashville. So make sure you come by the pharmacy. This place is packed right now. Tons of people enjoying the metro schools being out and out here having beers and brats and burgers and tots and horseradish mustard. And look, I've got a smokestack smoked dark lager from Soul and Spirits Brewery in Memphis. And this is what the pharmacy does for you guys. The pharmacy is constantly looking around for the best possible.
Believe they're the only place that carries it.
Best possible beverages.
Debut in Nashville is right here.
But this is what pharmacy does. They constantly are sourcing good local products to serve to you here, because you can't get this
pair with their food.
That, also important if you're one of those folks. It does.
I'm not one of those folks, but if someone were to say, hey, if free business advice for pharmacy right here, you can call it the ZL tasting menu, but if they did a tasting menu and did little mini slider burgers with a little bit of shot of beer,
flights, that couldn't be bad.
Man, I am a fucking genius. let me tell you something.
It's pretty good. You got the little mini Cajun burger with like a nice a beta lager of some sort. There you go. But anyway,
there you go, Daniel. Next big money maker.
Point is, you can't. This is what they do. They go look for good local products to serve to you, so that when you come here, you get something new, something different, something fresh. And again, this is a smoked dark lager, and it's very smoky. It's very delicious out of this boot. So come out to the pharmacy.
And if there is a job opening for official beer tester and beer investigator for the pharmacy, I will put in my resume.
Put your hat in there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Also, the Kingston Group as well. BuildKG.com is the website. The Kingston Group, both companies, Pharmacy and Kingston Group, locally owned for over 10 years, helping Nashvillians build their homes, renovate their homes, buy and sell their homes, and making sure they do it with the best possible financial advice. And frankly, listen, my family we eat here, and we use the Kingston Group to do a little building in the backyard there, and could not have been a better experience. Wife is ecstatic about it. Kids love it. It's been perfect for me, what I needed as well. So make sure you check out the Kingston Group before you make any big decisions about your house. Also, big announcement coming up at the end of the show. So stay tuned for that. Let's get to the quarterbacks, because Ryan Tannehill is the first and foremost.
You got a long list of quarterbacks.
We're casting a wide net here, so I want to make sure we can eliminate every possible candidate, or include every possible candidate, because I continually hear this. I do radio for ESPN as well, and I continually hear from like Jets fans, Panthers fans, a Dolphin fan asked me about this. That's just odd to me, because
Tua's been up a little bit out in the air.
Tannehill was down there forever.
Yeah.
And of course now there's everybody's interested in Tom Brady. I have a very close friend who's a Raiders fan that everybody knows, who's asking about what the future is there. All these teams have interest in quarterbacks, and very rarely does Ryan Tannehill come up. And I almost always have to say to them, look, Ryan Tannehill is better than X. He's better than Y. He's better than Z. He may not be good enough for a Super Bowl championship or Patrick Mahomes, which none of us would argue, but he's a good option. And we've talked a lot about the Titans trading Tannehill potentially. So I don't want to go down that path, but let's hypothetically, if the Titans were to look around at every option at quarterback, and again, we're casting a super wide net here, so we're making some assumptions about some of these names. I want you to tell me how the Titans could get this person. We're going to debate the cost, and then we're going to give you a yes, no. We like it. Don't pursue it. We hate that idea kind of deal. All right.
Okay.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. We're going to start with the guy who's been injured 2 Decembers in a row, who would change the offense significantly and cost you a fortune. So all great things.
Yes.
Lamar Jackson. On the board? Not on the board.
Here's the thing. I don't think that Lamar is on the board in the sense that it's a realistic option, because I've said this on a few of the different shows. You're talking about a guy that's going to pretty much, first off, the Ravens are going to do the prudent thing and tag him. The worst case scenario for the Ravens, they probably want to sign him to a long-term extension. Worst case scenario is that they're going to tag him, which means that then you have to trade for Lamar Jackson, and then you have to renegotiate a deal for Lamar Jackson. If I'm not mistaken, the deal starts with a $33 to $37 million guaranteed contract,
right? Yeah.
And then you're going to have to make that fully guaranteed. So now you're trading away draft picks, lots of draft picks for Lamar Jackson,
and a whole lot of money.
And you're paying him a whole lot of money, a minimum cap hit only, a minimum of $39 million the first year, then anywhere for the next 6 or 7 years, because you're going to have to sign yourself to Lamar Jackson for 6 to 7 years to make the money work, the guaranteed money work. Then you're talking about 6 to 7 years of anywhere from 41 to 40 or 52 in cap hit, just fluctuating all up and down. It's a mess to try to trade for Lamar Jackson, because the Ravens really do hold the cards. Now, listen,
there's no way he hits the market, right? Is what you're saying?
As a free agent?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. All right.
No. You're going to have to trade for him. And to me, listen, I would love, you tell me right now, hey, you can have Lamar Jackson or Ryan Tannehill. I'm choosing Lamar Jackson 10 times out of 10.
Okay.
However, injury histories have to be factored in. Price has to be factored in. I do not think it's a realistic expectation for fans to have that Lamar Jackson is going to be here.
Is his only playoff win over Ryan Tannehill in his career?
Because listen, that's the good thing.
He's also not been great in the playoffs or in December.
Well, that's what I was about to say. That's the good thing. Titans fans won't have to miss a beat. They'll still complain about the quarterback choking in the playoffs. So it's really good for Titans fans in continuity.
So we got that going for us.
Yeah.
Thomas Brady.
I think you can trade Tannehill. Another team. Listen, first off, we probably should talk about this in the OC thing as well. Disclaimer: the offensive personnel that are players that ended in the season for 2022 will not be the same exact people in 2023. The
No.
GM will come in and improve this offense on the offensive line and off the pass catcher. So you people who can continually get in mention and say, why would an ex-player or ex-coach want to be, in charge of this offensive line and these pass catchers? It's not going to be the same. Get it through your heads. Change is coming. Change is coming. Vrabel has told you he hates this team. Amy Adams-Strunk has told you she hates this team. It is coming. Change is coming. Get that out of your head. It makes no sense.
I love that.
They're going to be coming because they know that Vrabel and the next GM have said that they're going to make some drastic changes. Okay, got that off my chest.
All right.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady could be acquired, though, as easily as anyone on this list, right?
Yeah, Tom Brady's probably the easiest to acquire. Now, he may have the most competition, but I think the ties to San Francisco are a little overinflated. I don't know if
I agree with you.
I think the ties to Oakland are a little overinflated. I don't think the relationship with Josh McDaniels outweighs the relationship with Mike Vrabel. Now, the big hindrance is that both of those teams are way better and set up for success now.
You think the Raiders are better?
Yes, they have.
Not with Josh.
I mean, it's gonna be hard for this team to find Devontae Adams, Darren Waller.
I agree with that.
And Hunter Renfrow and Matt Collins.
No argument there. But I think the defense is worse. I think the offensive lines are equivalent, and the head coach sucks.
Yeah. Well, and I agree with you on all that. See, that was going to be my next point, is about the head coach and the defense, because when last time Tom Brady luckily won the Super Bowl was because he had an elite defense covering up his mistakes and his lack of play.
Well, and ironically, Kyle Shanahan didn't run the football.
Right. So,
which is what Brandon Staley did this weekend.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So if Tom Brady's here, more than likely Derrick Henry's here. Now, you will see a reduced role, but I think that he's coming because Derrick Henry's there and a little bit less off his plate. Now, on the flip side of this, Tom Brady, you get rid. Not only is Tom Brady coming, draft picks are coming, right?
Because you trade
because you're trading Ryan Tannehill, who is only going to be a $27 million cap hit. So he's only going to cost the other team $27 million in this last year.
So second rounder probably gets you Ryan Tannehill, and then you pay him the $27 million on his
You can pay him either $27 million, you can extend him and save a crap load of money this 1 year and only give him 2 extra years. I mean, it's a viable.
So if he gets traded, there's no dead cap hit that the other team needs to worry about, or the Titans need to worry about, right?
No, the Titans do carry a dead cap, but that is a sunk cost because you're going to save $17 million. So that you're paying this $18 million dead cap number that floats around. Guess what, guys? You're paying that dead cap number whether he's there or whether he's not there.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
But now you're getting $17.8 million back in the bank.
So it sounds like we both agree Lamar Jackson could be better, but no chance it's the right strategy. I don't know if Tom Brady. I guess Tom Brady is.
Tom Brady elevates everybody around him, and he can still make all the throws. And let me say this:
the key is the cost is so low.
And he's been shown to willing to take pay cuts,
right.
So that helps. And here's my other thing: he's playing with Mike Vrabel, elite defense, a very good running back, a lot better than what he had in Tampa Bay this year.
Don't you talk about Fat Leo that way?
But let me say this: Tom Brady at 47, I am 37. Okay. So Tom Brady at 47,
so freaking weird.
I am 20 years health-wise older than Tom Brady. I think Tom Brady is healthier at 47 than I was at 17.
I mean, I'm 40 and I am at least 10 years older than Tom Brady body clock.
Yeah.
My body clock is 10 years past Tom Brady.
I'm
57.
But like, that's what I'm saying. He's going to play till he's 50. So I think you're going to get 2 or 3 years of Tom Brady, barring like some catastrophic injury that comes up.
Okay. All right.
And you can still invest because guess what? You're not having to trade away picks and you're getting picks for Ryan Tannehill. You could still invest in a young quarterback.
All right. So we're pro Tom Brady. Shocking.
Pro Tom Brady.
Anti Lamar Jackson. In a pass-fail situation. Situation. Jimmy Garoppolo, who I think is there could be a potential bidding war for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Stay out of the bidding war, new Titans GM, because you're getting someone that is no better than Ryan Tannehill, and he is way less durable.
So I think that's the key that people miss with Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is great if you have an entire offensive system already structured and built. Good offensive coordinator, good players, good line.
Yeah, and that's what Ryan Tannehill is exactly too. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yes, but I think Tannehill, actually, I think because of his athletic ability, and I think he's played in different systems, I think Tannehill is more versatile than Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Tannehill's arm is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. And while Jimmy G might have a touch more upside, if everything goes right around him, I mean, they're both very handsome.
But
whatever.
Jimmy G's objectively a better.
My wife does not think Jimmy Garoppolo is very attractive.
Oh, really?
Well,
That's interesting.
He's got some porn star vibes.
I've not pulled.
He's got the porn star, vibes or whatever. He dates porn stars. Anyway, that's not a knock on him. He could still win football games for the Niners. In fact, he could be back winning football games for the Niners like this week or next week. I just think all things considered equally, Ryan Tannehill is a little bit more versatile, a little bit better player that creates a little bit more upside for the Titans. And probably I don't know what the cost would be, but I think you could argue The costs are about the same.
Well, I think he may, because again, you got to factor in when you're talking about these quarterbacks, you got to factor in that you're saving $17.8 million with Ryan Tannehill
and acquiring picks.
And you're acquiring picks.
I know.
I think, though, Jimmy G is still going to be a cheaper version of Tom Brady, but I think he's a less durable version of Tom Brady. And that, to me, is the big sticking point.
And less good.
Yeah, obviously.
I've never felt more like pro Jimmy Garoppolo and anti Jimmy Garoppolo all at the same time in one season than I have this year with the Niners.
Yeah.
Again, I think there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be paying big money. Namely, the Raiders might be.
Yeah.
Because of the relationship. All right, this is the one that everyone says that they would rather have over Ryan Tannehill. When I talk to Jets fans, when I talk to everybody around the league, not like inside the league, just fans of teams that say, I say right now, for a second-round pick, you can have Ryan Tannehill or Derek Carr. Which one do you want? And almost everybody takes Derek Carr.
I think they're foolish because you're paying for a more expensive, less likable version of Ryan Tannehill, who's also less athletic, and I just don't think he's I don't think he's a great leader.
I think they're very different leadership styles.
Yeah.
I think they're very different. I think they're both quality leaders. I just think very, very different.
It's not saying that Derek Carr couldn't succeed. Like, Derek Carr went down to Atlanta. Yeah, I could kind of see that, right? Working, he revitalizes his career with Arthur Smith, and then you may have a really, really good Derek Carr. And I don't think Derek Carr is necessarily a bad quarterback. I'm just not trading for Derek Carr.
No.
And that's where my hold up with that is. Now, if he hits the free agent market, you're going to run into a bidding war, possibly, because he has never really shown that he can fit what the majority of the offenses run nowadays. Not saying that he couldn't, because obviously if Jimmy G can, surely Derek Carr can.
I think Derek Carr's better than Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah. I just, for me, it's just a hard thing to wrap around paying more and losing out on more things to have Derek Carr, because he doesn't have the athletic ability.
Yeah.
Does it?
Less injury prone, maybe? I don't know.
Is he?
So I'm really torn.
I don't think he's like missed.
If you're asking like who, just forget the system. Forget
if you're just putting them side by side,
like,
I'd say Derek Carr.
I think Derek Carr and Ryan Tannehill, of the names on this list that aren't like obvious, like Tom Brady. Like, I think these are the two that it's the hardest to decide between.
Yeah,
between Ryan Tannehill and Derek Carr. I think there are certain things that Ryan Tannehill does better. There's a couple things that Derek Carr does better. I might say that Derek Carr is like if we're ranking quarterbacks in the NFL starting in 2023, it would be like Derek Carr would be the 14th best quarterback and Tannehill will be the 15th best quarterback, or vice versa.
Yeah.
They're basically even. So the question then is, they've got a 3-day window right after the Super Bowl to try to trade him. Then then there's a cut option as well where they could just walk away, which doesn't behoove the Raiders very much. I'm just curious how you go about getting Derek Carr.
Because you have to trade. And do you trade them Ryan Tannehill? Are they going to be interested in Ryan Tannehill with Tom Brady floating out there?
Yeah.
I guess to me is like, acquiring Derek Carr, to me, is going to be a team that we're going to talk about in 2 or 3 seasons, maybe even after the first season, like we talk about Russell Wilson and the Broncos. Because he's obviously going to go to a worse team, a team that probably has a little bit better draft capital, right? I mean, like if he went to the Saints, if the Saints traded for him, do you really believe that really moves the needle without – well, I'll say this. The Panthers are going to be a little bit better. The Falcons will probably be a little bit better. The Buccaneers will be a little bit worse, theoretically, with no Tom Brady. But does that really move the needle if you're a Saints fan that you've traded all this draft capital and you're in cap hell? Is he a quarterback that really elevates them to the Super Bowl?
No, to me,
he's not Matt Stafford.
Right, exactly. To me, Derek Carr is a perfect, like if I'm Sean Payton and I take the Texans job and I have all this extra capital and I can sign Derek Carr as a free agent to come in as like the 2-year guy before we develop our guy, like that's where that situation feels like that's the kind of place where I think Derek Carr would be a great fit, especially with a guy like Sean Payton who's good enough to develop.
The team that's going to trade for him, I think it's just going to be in a bad situation. I can see the Jets doing it and it not really moving them much. Now, I think the Colts have too much of a Matt Ryan issue still.
Yeah,
and I just hesitate to think that they're going to have all their ducks in a row. But even if they did, I still don't think that moves the needle for the Colts any.
AE says Carr in Washington, and I do think that's interesting.
That could be it. And if they pull in an offensive coordinator that can work around Derek Carr and say, hey, I want Derek Carr, that could work because they don't have to have Carson Wentz and they don't have to have Tyler Heineke. But the problem is, again, does that really move the needle for the Commanders in a division with Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, and now Daniel Jones?
I think Daniel Carr would be a huge upgrade.
You think so? Over
Wentz and Heineke,
yeah, but do you think it's enough to move the needle? Or are we going to be saying, oh, here comes old Derek Carr choking in the playoffs or choking in big games?
Again, it all comes
kind
down
of Kirk Cousins.
It all comes down to how That's a good comparison. It doesn't feel significantly different than Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
And you already did that in Washington. So
Yeah.
I do like that roster, though. And if they make a move at the coaching position, and I'm Sean Payton, I do like the defensive line, the weapons around. I think there's some stuff to build on.
I'm surprised they kept Ron Rivera around.
I am as well.
But, and I think that's a big.
I think he's kind of.
I think that's the other issue. Now you got Ron Rivera and Derek Carr. Does that really move the needle for him?
I feel like he's proven that he's just a guy as a head coach.
Yeah.
That's just me. All right. I love this player, but I don't love this player outside of the coaching staff he's currently on. And I don't think they're going to let him get away. Daniel Jones, who the Giants did not pick up their 5th-year option. I think Brian Daboll is fantastic. He's been that way every step of his career. I think Daniel Jones has a lot of really great skills, which is the same skills that got him drafted where he was. We've just finally seen a good coach take those skills and maximize them because
he's a New York Giant.
The weapons they're throwing to is not impressive. They've got Barkley, but like what they have done with him, the way he's protected the ball, how efficient he is, like he's got so much skill. I don't think they ever let him get away. If he was available, I would absolutely go get Daniel Jones. But I think you have to
I'd have to find Eric Bieniemy.
You have to pair him with the right coordinator.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% on that. I just think he's going to be a Giant.
I agree with you on that one. How about some rapid fire, like lower budget items that could be temporary if you trade Tannehill away?
Sounds good.
Geno Smith.
I'm out.
Just all a Seattle
thing. I think, well, he tailed off at the end, and so I think you're now starting to creep. You're seeing a Teddy Bridgewater-esque career for him where he could be a backup or he could come in for a pinch, but he's never – if the goal for Mike Vrabel is truly – Super Bowl aspirations or keeping the Super Bowl window as much as possible, then you can't go Geno Smith. If it's just trying to stay afloat and maybe just kind of play with the
you don't think there's a bridge? You don't think there's a bridge possibility?
He's the bridge quarterback.
How about Bridgewater?
He's a worse bridge quarterback.
Worse bridge quarterback. How about Sam Darnold?
I would quit being on this show.
if they sign Sam Darnold, you just quit?
He's terrible.
Well, don't sign Sam Darnold. I like this guy at least a little bit sometimes. How about Baker Mayfield?
I'd quit being on this show.
You quit being on the show.
He's terrible.
Okay, he's still better than like Malik Willis and Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, well, listen. If you're giving me the only choices for the Tennessee Titans are Malik Willis, Josh Dobbs, and Baker Mayfield, then yeah, I'll take Baker Mayfield. But that's not the only choice.
So you would take Geno Smith. Well, I'm just saying hypothetically, you trade Tannehill to acquire capital because your new GM and
I'm not watching Baker Mayfield for 17 fucking games.
But Geno Smith, Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield.
I will take Geno Smith over every one of them easily, hands down. By far, no doubt in my mind, I'm taking Geno Smith over all those other fucking losers.
Can't believe I might take Baker Mayfield out of all those losers.
You're ridiculous.
How about even lower trash?
Oh my gosh.
Tyler Heineke.
I take Tyler Heineke over
Rush.
I take Tyler Heineke and Cooper Rush over all those guys.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, give me a break.
No, I take him over all those guys.
All right, how about this one? This one was floated, and this one is not all that crazy. And that is the Chicago Bears drafting Bryce Young and trading Justin Fields. So you trade Tannehill, you get some draft capital, and then you have to turn around and probably trade a 1 and a 4, maybe a 1 and a 3.
Just roll with Malik Willis
to get Justin Fields.
I'm not trading.
You don't like Justin Fields? I think he's way better than all those trash guys we just talked about.
I would say he's way better on the ground. And, I mean, if you're looking to trade all that for a running back.
Geno Smith or Justin Fields starting?
Geno Smith.
Okay, well, then there's no reason to even entertain those phone calls. All right, I think those are all the current
I don't
names.
think people really realize just how bad Justin Fields is.
He's not
has been.
He's not efficient.
I mean, you're talking about that he's 23rd out of 28, 21 out of 28, 21 out of 28, 24 out of 25 on success rates and PFF grades. So 24 out of 25 PFF grades. He's terrible.
I think you would have to go.
And he's just not good.
I think you'd have to swing a huge philosophical offensive swing to acquire Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields, anybody in that mold where the running game is so critically important to the quarterback's success that I think you'd have to be really creative, innovative with an offensive system. And that's not really Kyle Shanahan. That's more Greg Roman.
If you acquired Justin Fields, you better change everything as far as your preconceived notions about how to build a team, and you should do exactly what the Eagles have done.
I agree with.
But they're not at a position where they can do that. That's the problem.
Are you suggesting that the offensive line is a question?
Yeah,
this offseason.
But I mean, you have to get AJ Brown, you have to get Devontae Smith, you have to get Dallas Goedert, you have to get all these guys, and you have to get an offensive coordinator, and you have to do it all in a year, because really, when you're trading for a guy like this, when you're trading picks for a guy like this, and when you're sitting at number 11, you're going to have to spend the money to build on around the guy, and you have to do it ASAP. You cannot waste a third year of Justin Fields in a third offensive system in 3 years and expect him to be anything good. We saw this play with Mariota. We've seen this play with Baker Mayfield. We've seen this play with Sam Darnold. You cannot do that to the kid. So this would have to be the final stop. It'd have to be consistent, immediate, impactful moves would have to be made if you want Justin Fields to be a successful quarterback here.
I can't disagree with any of that. Drafting a quarterback at a number 11, or in theory, with the extra second-round pick you may get from either Tannehill or your second-round pick that you have, which is actually a pretty decent second-round pick, which is also, that's kind of the cutoff, by the way, for where you can still draft really good, high-quality quarterbacks. You can get them in the top 40 or 50. It's once you get to the third round that the talent level really drops off. You don't find many starters. There are lots of second-round draft picks that have been starters. So if you're picking, I guess it'd be, 43 in the second round? So either Tannehill pick 43 or draft 11, which I would assume be either Will Levis or Anthony Richardson. What do we make of drafting at 11?
I would take Anthony Richardson, except for I'm just so far in love with Paris Johnson and Jackson Smith, JSN. I'll never be able to say his last name.
Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah, that guy.
He is the best wide receiver in the draft.
Yeah, in my opinion, he is.
Bar none.
Those were the two I would fall in love with at number 11. Spare me Peter Skoronski and this talk that he's a good player, but he's not OT1. If you have him as OT1, you need to go get your eyes checked.
He may not be on the board at 11.
Well, so if he is, and let someone else make that stupid mistake with Paris Johnson still sitting there. Let someone else do that. Now, trading up, you give me Bryce Young all fucking day. I'll take him all day.
I'm not there yet.
But I'm saying it's only Anthony Richardson. If you're going to draft
you think Levis isn't there at 11?
Well, no. I'm saying that if you draft Will Levis at 11, guess what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to be on the show anymore.
Okay. Or in May, I guess. You wouldn't be on the show in May.
I will be on the show one episode.
How about this?
To just cuss at the Tennessee
Titans. That would be a hell of an episode. I did. So I've mentioned Mel Kiper before, working with Mel and having Mel say that Will Levis is the guy who moved up boards.
Now, wasn't Mel Kiper the guy who had 7 quarterbacks going like the first 15 picks?
So I say all that to say, I talked to a former GM this weekend who said that he doesn't see it with Will Levis and that Will Levis is going to fall in the draft. So there's very different opinions on him.
I've heard the same thing from another GM. Now, not me personally, but I've heard another GM talk about it.
Richardson at 11 is a bit of a reach, but I think that is the multi-year play for a player with extraordinary upside and a lot of work to do. I think you do need someone like Teddy Bridgewater or Sam Darnold to be your starter.
Or even just Ryan Tannehill if you're drafting him at 11.
Maybe, but I still think you want to build the offensive line and the receiving core around him. If I'm
drafting Henry.
If I'm drafting at 11, I want to trade probably Henry and Tannehill to get as many assets to build around him as possible.
Or hire Eric Bieniemy or Matt Nagy, you could probably bring out the best in Anthony Richardson while he sits for a year behind Ryan Tannehill. Say Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes.
All right, announcement from Full 40 Sports coming up here in just a few minutes. Also, we're here at the pharmacy live, of course, all the great burgers and Das Boot right here. We got some beers from Memphis that you can't get anywhere else. This is, again, the Smokestack Smoked Dark Lager. Make sure you check out the Kingston Group before you make any big decisions about your house as well. So two great local sponsors here on the show that provide awesome services to the community and care deeply about Nashville, Tennessee. I still have one more question to ask you.
Well, I know, but I want to tackle a question before we move on.
Let's do it.
Because we're a little bit closer to the Justin Fields question.
Okay.
From Kenneth, how about our preconceived notion of Daniel Jones before this year? I'm not out on Fields yet. Here's the thing. When they hired Brian Daboll, I told people, maybe not on Twitter, but I've mentioned it numerous times in group chats. I mentioned it numerous times in group chats and was laughed at, that Brian Daboll is the correct hire, and him and Mike Kafka are going to get the most they can out of Justin Fields. So if you're, like I said, if you're bringing Justin Fields over, you better have the best fucking offensive coordinator in America.
I think if you're going to go to any of these guys, and I would include Lamar in that, or bring it now, Cliff Kingsbury would be good at that.
I think Lamar could run the offense as it is.
Maybe. Okay. I might be, but again, for $400 million.
Without Todd Downing.
Right, without that guy. My last one is, of course, trade up to number 1, which I think we've already said on the show is your you kind of feel like
it's not my most favorite scenario, but if they feel they got their guy,
convicted,
trade up and get him.
Okay.
If it's CJ Stroud, I'll still be on the show. But I've already seen
you're just
people
branding Ohio State quarterback.
Well, they've branded themselves because I've already seen people who said the same thing about Justin Fields are now saying, "Oh, don't compare CJ Stroud to Justin Fields." Who they said don't compare Justin Fields to Dwayne Haskins. Who said don't compare Dwayne Haskins to whoever else was before him.
Honestly, I don't think you should compare any quarterback to any other quarterback.
But it's a proven thing. It's like the Madden curse.
Like Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence are different. Who's better than Taj Boyd? Who's different than
but they're all different
the
stylistically
guy
too.
today.
These guys aren't that different stylistically.
No, that's
in my
true.
opinion.
Well, I think Haskins and Stroud are very different than Justin Fields,
right?
And Braxton Miller before him, who was an Urban Meyer guy who ran a terrible.
I don't think
for the NFL.
Stroud's that different than Justin Fields.
Give me your last minute prediction here on what happens with the quarterback. Very early in this process, does Ryan Tannehill the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans? I'm going to ask you this every episode.
Yeah, I feel the offensive coordinators coming in has me a little bit more of a 60-40. He's still here. So I was 80-20.
Okay.
And I've gone down a little bit with new information presented to me. Now, if they hire Charles London or Tim Kelly and they keep the GMs inside, I think Ryan Tannehill will stay.
Okay. All right. That I don't know where you can have a more thorough conversation about every possible option at the quarterback position, what it costs, whether we like the idea or not, and what it does for the Titans offense and the coordinator search anywhere else than right here on the football
Sun
show.
Came out and blew us out back
We got
there.
a little sun. We got a little sunshine, which is a great thing for everybody. Look at all this. Look, you can't even see my hand back here. Look at that. All right. Make sure you check out the pharmacy. Come on out right now. It's beautiful. It's vibey, as my 6-year-old daughter would say. It's a great place to get burgers, beers, brats, tots, and locally sourced stuff that you can't get anywhere else. Again, check out their beer menu there. They got the soda rail, the milkshake bar, the whole deal. Kingston Group, of course, as well. BuildKG.com is the website. We are 3 minutes, I believe, from 2 o'clock. Huge announcement from 440 Sports coming at 2 o'clock. That's right. I teased you through the whole show just to tell you to go to the Twitter account.
Turn on those notifications.
Turn on the notifications as we tell you. At 440 Sports, of course, the Facebook page, the YouTube page, Broadway Sports Media. Also, make sure you stacking the inbox with Zach Lyons. Check it out on the Twitter page.
Already got, after I leave here and I get home, finishing up another article.
I am
going to be writing about Ian Cunningham and Rand Carthen, and I got 7 topics underneath every one. We're talking like it's probably going to be closer to like a 4,000 word article.
I want to read about Ian Cunningham. That gets me going on a Monday night while I'm watching some playoff football. Sounds great. So make sure you stack in the inbox on Substack or on his Twitter account as well. Of course, everybody, thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging out. For Zach, I'm Braden. This has been a football show.